Fernando has the bracket mounted in place. The back side of the fast ring is in there. There's 3 pieces to the fast ring. The middle section here, a back piece of foam, and then the front piece here. He added the sound treatment around the plastic bracket to help make that more rigid.
And we done. I already put the water vapor barrier, all the foam that was in the back. Don't forget about this. Same thing here, my foam in the front. We're gonna wait until I get the door panel, and if I have to trim it, then I can go and trim it a little bit. The reason why we have to trim it, when you put the door panel back on, if you see, they can actually fall and damage the speaker.
So that door is done. The next step is to head over to the inside of the door panel here. He's going to add a little bit of sound treatment around this area in here, and also I have to add in our Hertz logo to the door. This is the speaker that we want to make a copy of. Fortunately, we've done a lot of Toyotas, and one of the reasons why we use the Glowforge is for repetitious things like this. Normally we take this over to the router, we would make a bezel, we'd drill a hole through it, and all that fun stuff. But having the laser does streamline the process a little bit. This is the speaker scanned inside of the computer. We use a flatbed scanner to do that. Next thing we'll do is we'll trace it. Once we have the outside trace, we'll add the mounting holes and the tweeter hole. This is what we need to modify. With the basic shape in, I can measure each tweeter, change this hole, and make a whole new plate. To do that, we use a set of calipers, and we measure, and we end up with 1.74. Type that in here. And that's it. Now we have the size we need. We can add a logo to it, position it where we want, export the tweeter as an SVG file to our desktop. And now it's time to start printing. For this, we're gonna be using a piece of 1/4" acrylic. Once it's exported out to the desktop, we can load it into the Glowforge software. It'll estimate how much time it's gonna take us to cut this piece. I like to cut 1 piece at a time. Even though I'm gonna need 2, I always just do 1. That way, if I manage to screw something up, I don't have 2 bad ones. This is gonna take us a little under 2 minutes to cut. And this is the bracket we end up with, 1/4" acrylic. To get the paper off of the 1/4" acrylic, use a piece of acrylic. The hole that came out is a perfect thing to use. It won't scratch. And that's what we end up with. Nice cleaned piece. Ooh, looks like midnight. Tweeter's looking all sexy up in there. The tweeter came with 2 rubber gaskets, so we won't need to use any foam. Because there's already a grill that's gonna be over it, I don't wanna use a double grill. We'll use the back piece here, and this is gonna set our depth. One rubber gasket, the acrylic, the second rubber gasket, and our top piece. You just want to get it so that the top screw is flush with the top of the tweeter. Once it's like that, I'll flip it over to the back side and spin the back bolt into place. There's 2 flat spots on it that you can see here for doing just that. And then with our tool, we can hold it in place. There we go, we have a super tight tweeter. Let's go test fit it in the car, make sure it goes in, make sure we don't have any depth issues, and make sure that the grill goes back over the top of it. Definitely no depth issues going into the dash. Goes up into the factory tweeter hole perfect, and there's a lip on the back side of this. Let me show you. This piece here, and this piece when it goes in sits right on top of the acrylic. The only thing I have to do is put a little piece of foam around this so we don't get any rattling. And that'll seal that up into the dash perfectly. For foam that we keep talking about, we use this. It's a 1/4", 1/16 inch thin foam. If you're interested in picking yourself up a roll of this, you can find it on dnftooldrawer.com. What the final product is with the foam in place. Our speaker will sit up against that, and we'll have a nice rattle-free mount. Since we've test fit it, everything fits fine, it goes in there, proper clearance. Now I'll make the second one.
And just like that, this front door is done. Time to move to the next one.
Hey, wait a minute, man. This one's already got the door panel off.
That's how fast I work.
Why is the door panel off?
Because we're gonna do sound treatment, coaxials in the back.
Let me get a look at that speaker, and we'll compare it to what we got going in. Thank you, sir. Ooh, look at that. Yeah. This is the rear speaker. This is the rear speaker. It mounts with 3 holes. It has a plug here on the end, foam on the top just like the front, foam on the back side. This is made a lot better, believe it or not, than the front speaker. As you can see, the magnet is inside of a cup. That will prevent this from breaking off and sticking into the inside of the door. I learned something a little bit on these newer back speakers. It is still made out of plastic. They will only handle so much in heat. Paper cone, cloth surround. Now just like the front, this is a 6.5, but it's got a weird hole pattern. To mount our new 6.5 in the car, we're gonna use the Metra 82, 81, 48. Flip it over and compare the holes so they line up. You can also just put this on the door and see that they line up. This has these 2 extra screw down points here depending on which version of the car this is going in. For this, because we have 3 good solid points, we won't need these. It also has these tabs on the inside so that you can go with a smaller 6-inch speaker as opposed to the full 6.5 or 6 3/4. This speaker, as you can tell, is a little bit narrow. This is more of a 6 and not so much a 6.5. When you compare the depth of the 2 brackets, as you can see, this is shallower to give you room for that speaker to move on the door panel. The speaker that we are going to be putting in is the Hertz SPL Show SX165 Neo. Now, even though this is the same series as the front speaker, it is a little bit different design. It's still going to be using the Neo magnet, so we don't have that giant magnet on the back of the speaker. The tweeter wire is coming out of it, so if you needed to, you could bi-amp it. This has a smaller hard dome tweeter as opposed to the 2 soft dome tweeters we had in the other speaker. One thing I forgot to mention on the 6x9 is that this area here on the speaker is sealed. If anything were to come into the speaker in this area, like water or debris or anything like that, it's not going to get inside. It's a sealed pull piece. The cone is made out of a treated cloth, and the surround is also a treated cloth. So it's a little bit different animal. Comparing it to what we're taking out, they both do use a Neo magnet, but as you can see, this magnet is substantially bigger than this one here. The goal, of course, is to make this super loud, and this is definitely going to do that for us. With this bracket, of course, test fit in our speaker, and as you can see, it doesn't sit flat because this is a bigger 6.5. To get these tabs out of the way, pair of pliers and lift up, and now we have the opening we'll need. This will now sit flush in there and give us a factory mount for our new SPL Show speaker. I'm going to pass these over to Fernando so he can get them into the car. Fernando's on the home stretch of the rear door. What do you got left?
I just got the connection and the outside flash.
Have you done the inside of the door panel yet? Let's take a look at that real quick. You can see that area around where the speaker is going to be is nice and rigid. Let's go over to the other side. These sides aren't done yet. Jeez. So as you can tell, the door is definitely a more rigid structure at this point, which will do 2 things for him. One, it'll help to kill any road noise that he has because it's a much more solid piece. And also, any vibration that the speaker is going to create, this is a firmer structure for it to mount to. Basically, we're giving him the best chance we can to sound the best that they can.